I'm Nadira Tudor, and this is The Fall of Kabul, a soldier's story. Was it worth it? I think we'll start with the moment that you heard, and I don't know where you were, but I'd like you to describe where you were when you heard that Kabul had fallen.
I was in Afghanistan till the end, actually. I am one of the last several NATO civilians who left Afghanistan, actually. I was in Ashkaya, Kabul. There was an interactive map, actually, in our building, Ops Center, with an area marked red around Kabul, and it was getting closer and closer. So I lived all those days and moments, because I left Afghanistan on August 17th. I stayed there till the last days, actually.
That must have been unbelievable.
Yeah, actually, a lot of things happened that which are like some scenes from a dream or a movie, to tell you the truth. I was not expecting the things became that, how can I say, that there was a complete chaos, and I was not expecting it. I was expecting more smooth retrograde, actually, but it never happened. Yeah.
When you say it was like a scene from a movie, total chaos.
Yeah.
Can you describe the moments until Kabul fell? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to visualize what it must have been like if you were there in your position as a member of the military there.
Yeah. Actually, I knew that I was in the safest place in the city. Probably we are on a NATO base. We are on the international airport on the NATO side, with a lot of military aircraft and helicopters. So it could be easy to evacuate, leave the country. So what can happen? That's what you think. And it's true, yes, we were in the safest place when we compare the life of people outside. But especially the day when thousands of people flocked to the airport with a hope to escape the country. You will remember when they climbed on the aircraft, and a lot of people died that day, and all those things happened just meters away from me. And at that moment, you don't know if they are just ordinary people or the militants, and you hear the gunfire everywhere, the helicopters flying, and some explosions. And I was trying to do my final tasks, which was destruction of the classified materials, equipment, documents, everything. So when I say that I was not expecting this, it was because I think nobody was aware that the city would fall that fast. We did our plans. We were trying to evacuate the equipment, as much equipment as possible, but things really developed very fast, and at the end, okay, we were just surrounded by the militants, and we just heard that, okay, no NATO personnel, no foreign military personnel will remain in Kabul. That was from, the Taliban. They didn't want anybody to leave, and okay, we were just actually I was just trying to see how it would be possible to leave the country, especially on that day when thousands of people were on the airport.
So you said that you felt safe, you thought you were safe, but actually you were trapped.
Yeah. That's true, but you still feel safe because all the NATO military, all the special operations forces, everyone are in Kabul, and the evacuation flights had already started that day. And my background is military, actually. I was in Turkish Air Force. Although I served as a civilian in Afghanistan, I was a military guy, so I had complete trust that all people would be evacuated at the end. But the question was how and when, because while I was doing my final tasks, I was keeping my backpack with me, whatever I could put, ready to leave as soon as possible. And then you just go back to your room in the evening and try to sleep and just worrying about, okay, what will happen tomorrow?
It's very dramatic.
It is.
Ilker, you were there at that moment, and you were obviously very fresh in your memory, the relationships that you had formed. How did that feel at that time?
The relationship with the civilians, Afghan civilians?
Not just the civilians, the very strong relationships that you formed when you were there, your personal experience, whether that be Afghans, whether that be your colleagues.
Now, my job there didn't require me to go out of the perimeters. Although I had to travel all over Afghanistan, from one military base to other, from there to other, so I worked with almost with all NATO member countries and their soldiers, and of course also with the Afghan civilians, local people working for the NATO on base. During those days, or right after I left the country, I received a lot of messages through social media. They find you by your name, and they are begging for help for themselves and for their families. But I just cannot do anything actually for them. I was trying to direct them to the correct POCs, the embassies, and the other email address or phone numbers, because nothing else. When the Taliban was approaching Kabul, the city was surrounded. I saw some of the Afghan men working for NATO on the base, started to grow beards. They were just preparing for a change of power. It might be easier for men, actually. Of course, life was never easy for anybody in Afghanistan, but how about women? There were young girls and women working on the base for the NATO, and now I don't know if they are safe, if they have successfully managed to leave, if they were evacuated, or they are still in Afghanistan and they became wives of militants. That's true. So it took really few months for me to stop thinking about all those friends and families I knew, and I still have some friends from Afghanistan. I'm in contact with them, and I know that they are in the US or in Europe or in Turkey. They are safe, but not everybody. And it's not, of course, my primary duty. It's not my job. But as a human, you feel responsible to them. They helped us. They worked for us. They really helped us, actually, because we were not allowed to go out, and it's dangerous, and it's not a part of my duty, at least, to go out. So when we need something from out, just a simple food, fruit, or it can be anything. They are always ready to help you, and they were good people actually. So although again it's not my part of duty to take care of those people, I always felt responsible for their safety and future. I still feel the same way, and the only thing is I can do is to hope that they are safe and happy.
You obviously found yourselves in dangerous situations. Can you describe what your first impressions were when you went there, and situations that stood out in your mind?
I was in Turkish military. I served in Turkish military for 20 years as an NCO, and during my time I also served in Kosovo for 6 months. It's not exactly the same actually. The war was over in Kosovo at that time, and I should say that although the Turkish military has been fighting against terrorism and actively taking part in NATO operations, I was never a part of a real military operation when I was in uniform. It's funny that I found myself in a real operation area when I took off my military uniform as a civilian. So my first impression about Kabul, I was sad to see the city from through the window of the aircraft. The city, it is clearly observable that it's a poor country. The city has like no trees, no. You just see some houses brown, all the same color, and it's clear that you are in a country that is not developed. Okay, we knew it from the news, but seeing it really was actually sad for me. And then, yeah, I was never out within the civilian people, and my only contact was with the local Afghans working for the NATO on base. But I had a chance to talk to them about their lives outside, and what my impression actually didn't change. I was always sad for those people. And
Did they sound sad when they were talking to you?
I'm sorry.
Did they sound sad when they were talking to you?
They were, sure they were, but those people actually they didn't have many choices. I do know some people who worked for the NATO until they got enough money for them to escape the country. I know a lot of people. They come to you and clearly say, "Okay, Ilker, I'm leaving." Where? I'm leaving. I'm leaving NATO. I'm leaving the country. I will try to go to Europe. Okay, but how will you do it? I will try. I have some contacts. So they just give all the money they did to some people who promised them for transportation to Europe. I don't know how they did, actually, at the end.
So you had a lot of Afghans that you worked for that suddenly said, "I'm leaving."
Yeah, exactly. They suddenly said, "Yes, I'm done," because you know each other for a long time. They just want to say goodbye to you, and then they openly say that they will try to escape illegally, escape the country, and to find a place to live. And when you ask, okay, how about your family? You leave them behind? Oh, I will go start a new life, and then I will take them with me later. I will bring them in Europe. But these are the dreams, actually. It's not easy. Even if they can, even if they do their way to other countries safely, we know what's waiting for them. They are immigrants. It's not easy for them to build a life there, and those countries are trying to send them back, and they have a dream, an aim to bring their families to Europe after they have built a good life. You know that it's not easy. You know that it's actually crazy. But what can you tell them?
What did you tell them? How did that make you feel when you know what's on the other side for them?
Of course, I told them that everything would be even worse. Now they work for the NATO. They make good money when compared to the people working outside. And NATO is, or the US or some other country military bases they work for, they take care of them, and so they can also take care of their families there. Although they are not happy, I told them that, hey, if you try something crazy, like escaping the country illegally and giving all the money you have saved for years to some people, some organizations who promise you to take out, it's just a big risk, and you can lose everything. But it seemed like they had no other choice.
They were desperate.
Sure, they were. No other choice. It's very interesting. I will never forget about a young boy. He had some other plans, actually. One day he came and told us that he was going to get married. And we said, yeah, we were very happy. Okay, that's great. When is the wedding? How it works here? He said, no, it will take years. We just we are now engaged, he said, and we will wait until I have enough money to give the bride's father. Only then she can be my wife. Okay, how much is that? It was thousands of dollars. And it would take years for him to collect that money. And I asked, okay, during this time, what happens if they just doesn't want you, if she doesn't want you anymore, and if they say, no, we cannot wait anymore? And he said, it's not the case. Once they are engaged, nobody can now broke the relation. And when they promise, they need to keep that promise until that money is collected, and then they will be married. More interestingly, because the money he needed to collect was too high, for the reason that the girl she was going to marry was uneducated, never went to school. If she goes to school, you need to pay less money. If she goes to high school, or there's a chance for Afghan girls to go to university, like they could become nurses. But if a girl does it, no man want to marry them, or they just need to pay. It's really weird for me to say that, but you just need to pay less money if you want to marry a girl who is educated. This is their life.
I have to talk about these. You've got so many stories from inside, and you have a different situation, obviously, the work that you experience, and you travelled around as well. Did you make friends with people as you travelled around the country as well?
friends from
both sides.
both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Here in Mons at Shape, I still have a lot of friends, and we work together in Afghanistan. And actually, when we come together, we talk about those days with longing. We miss those days. We had good time there.
That's strange, though, isn't it? For someone on the outside to see. I understand it, actually, having been parts of lots and lots of military exercises, obviously not in Afghanistan, but with the subject of Afghanistan at its core, the training was for that. I understand it, but actually for those looking in, you say you had a good time in this incredibly complex conflict. Explain that.
Okay. Now, the life in Afghanistan was not easy also for us. We lived in military barracks, 2, 3, or even 4 people together in a room. You share your room with other people. So for an adult, it's not easy, actually. And you cannot go out for a drink or for a walk, or you just cannot say, hey, let's go to the seaside and have a drink, enjoy. Nothing. So normally the days are out of the job. We have routine tasks, duty to do. But out of this, our days were really routine. And we used to make these kind of sentences. Okay, what are our plans tomorrow? We will go to the Afghan market to buy some souvenirs for our next leave. Okay, then we can go to the Thai restaurant, a small restaurant which makes Thai food. We will go there and we will have dinner. Okay. As if it is really a very important task to do. But this is a part of your life, and you follow your plans. Very, very simple things, because you have nothing else to do. And then if suddenly you get a phone call saying that there is a system error, there is an emergency that requires you to go back to office, then you get angry because your plans have been ruined. What are the plans? Going to the Afghan market for some souvenirs. That's easy. But you have to have something to keep you, alive. And when I say that we had good time there, I am really talking about the relationship among people. That's why we really talk about those days with longing.
For you, do you think the 20-year plus conflict was worth it?
Actually, I will look at the issue from two perspectives. For the U.S., when they declared that they would retrograde from Afghanistan, they said that the mission was completed because Afghanistan was not a safe haven for the terrorists anymore. So mission completed. Okay, this is their part. It's the U.S., the country, can decide to keep its soldiers there, or when the time comes to withdraw them. For the NATO, I cannot say that it was a complete success, actually. The NATO had tags, train, advise, assist commands to advise the Afghan government, Afghan national army security forces, and to assist them, to train them. So at the end, where is the Afghan national army? Collapsed. So all those training, equipment, all those efforts, in order to say that, yes, it was a success, we should see the real results in the country. I don't see them. So, yeah, what I read on the news that the complete war over the 2 years was cost like $2 trillion. It's what I saw on the news. This is just the money-wise. Thousands of people were killed, and a lot of people, also Afghan people, locals, they had a lot of pain. But at the end, when I look at the picture now, really, I just cannot say that it was a success.
Thank you for joining us on The Fall of Kabul, A Soldier's Story. For more episodes and in-depth exploration, visit us on YouTube and on podcast streaming platforms.